Hello everyone, Zaid from zSecurity here, and in today's video I'm going to show you how to bypass all antivirus programs including Windows Defender and create a fully undetectable backdoor. Now before we get into this, I'm giving away free access to one of my courses to one of you guys. And to get it, all you have to do is like this video, subscribe to the channel, and opt in using the link in the description of the video. Even if you don't want a free course, please like the video if you're enjoying my content. This helps push my video and recommend it to more people. It'll also tell me that you're enjoying my content, which will make me make more videos. So as I usually say, more likes equal more videos. Now let's hit it. Now, I know most of you know what a backdoor is, but just for the sake of completion, a backdoor is a program that when executed on a target computer, it gives us remote access to that computer, allowing us to remotely control it and do anything that the normal user can do on their computer. So we'll be able to access the file system, record keystrikes, turn on the webcam as you've seen in my other videos, and pretty much, like I said, do anything the normal user can do. Now, generating a backdoor is actually very easy. The only problem is most backdoors, if not all of them, are detected by all antivirus programs by default. Therefore, the goal of this video is to try to generate a backdoor that can bypass all of these antivirus programs, including Windows Defender, which pretty much comes in with Windows. Now, antivirus programs use a number of methods to determine whether a file is harmful or not. A very common one is to compare this file to a really big database of file signatures. The signatures in this database correspond to harmful files, and if your backdoor matches any of the files in this big database, then it'll consider it as a harmful file, otherwise it's not. That's why when you create a backdoor using these tools that are publicly available, most if not all of the time, the generated backdoor will be detected because a lot of people use this backdoor and this signature of the backdoors generated using this tool already exists in the signature of harmful files that antivirus programs use. Therefore, if you want to bypass this common method of detection, all you have to do is make sure that your backdoor is unique. You have to modify the backdoor as much as possible so it is unique. So when the antivirus program compares it to this really big database of signatures, none of the signatures would match, and therefore it will not consider your file as a harmful file. Now, there's a lot of tutorials online to show you how to modify your backdoors. I cover a lot of methods in my courses to do that as well. But the main thing you want to keep in mind is, and this even goes for this video, you want to look at these tutorials as methods to learn what you can modify and to get inspiration on what to modify. If you follow the instructions in my videos or even on other videos exactly as shown, you're going to end up with a file identical to the file that we have, and a lot of people have already done that, and therefore chances are the signature of this file already exists in this big database. Therefore, even in my courses from time to time, I get people saying, I followed everything that you did exactly, and at the end my backdoor still got detected. And the reason why? Because you followed everything that I did. Like I said, you want to look at these things as ideas and then get creative and modify them in a different way than the one I do myself. Therefore, I usually respond to these questions by explaining that, and then I would give them a number of steps that are guaranteed to help you generate undetectable backdoors if you understand them and follow them properly. So, in this video, we're actually going to go over these steps, and we're not going to need to use everything that's mentioned here, but you will see by the end, we're going to generate a backdoor that bypasses pretty much all antivirus programs, including Windows Defender. Now, some of these steps might seem complex, and I actually spend a number of lectures on each step, sometimes a full section on some of these steps, like step number 6 in my courses. But I can't do that in here, obviously, because it's a YouTube video and I'm pretty sure it's gonna end up being more than 30 minutes anyway. So I can't really dive deep and dissect each one of these steps. So as I go through the video, if you don't understand anything that I say, then Google is your best friend, or you can simply get one of my courses in which I dissect each one of these steps and, like I said, spend a number of lectures on each to explain every single step that I will do. So we're going to start with step number 1, in which we're going to make sure that we have the latest version of VIL. Now, if you don't know what VIL is a program that can be used to generate undetectable backdoors. There are a lot of other programs that can do the same, such as the Fat Rat and Empire, but we're gonna stick with VIL right now. It's actually my favorite. It's not the newest framework, but it's always been kept up to date, and therefore with a little bit of tweaking, as you will see throughout this video, you'll always be able to use it to generate undetectable backdoors. So on Kali Linux, to install VIL, all you have to do is first apt-get update to update the sources of available packages, and then apt-get install VIL. Now, I've already installed it, so as you can see, it's telling me that it's already installed and it's already the newest version. So let's go ahead and run it, and to run it, we're just going to do VEIL. And as you can see, we have two options to run the program, evasion or ordnance. Before doing any of that, again, you want to make sure that you have the latest version, like we said in step 1. So we're going to do update. And it's telling us that we are fully up to date, so there is no need to do any of that. So we're just going to do use 1 to use the evasion part of the framework that allow us to generate undetectable backdoors. And as you can see, you have all of the available commands and their description. Like I said, I go into this in more details in my courses. So if any of this is hard to follow, check out the courses or use Google to learn more. But we're just going to do a list to list all of the available payloads that we can use. And as you can see, we have 41 payloads. So each one of these entries is code that allow us to do something useful on the computer that it gets executed on. Each one of these also have a number of options that you can experiment with. And that's why this framework can be very useful, because you can generate so many variations of backdoors. So in today's video, I want to use a PowerShell backdoor, and I want to use the PowerShell Meterpreter reverse TCP. So this is a payload that's going to be written in PowerShell. It's going to give me Meterpreter access. Meterpreter is a payload that runs in memory, programmed by the Metasploit guys. It's really cool. It allows us to do so many things. And this is going to be a reverse connection that is sent over TCP. So this is what the different parts of the payload name mean. We have the programming language, followed by the payload type, followed by the type of connection, whether it's reversed or direct, and the protocol used for the connection. So we want to use payload number 22, so we're going to type use 22. Then it automatically lists all of the options that we can modify for this specific payload. So like I said, we have 41 payloads, and each one of them has a big list of options in here that you can modify. And keep in mind, when you modify these, you could make your payload more unique, which will mean that you will be able to bypass more antivirus programs. There are some really cool options in here. For example, the sleep option. This will basically tell the backdoor to sleep. So when the user executes the backdoor, it's not going to run, and it's going to wait for about a minute or two, depending on the time you set with this option. And it'll only get executed after this time passes. The cool thing about this option is some antivirus programs, even if they don't detect a program, they'll actually run it in a sandbox or in an isolated environment and analyze what the backdoor will do. They're not going to do this forever. They'll only do it for a specific period of time. Therefore, if you choose a time that is large enough in here, you will be able to fool these antivirus programs, because they're going to run your backdoor. Your backdoor will do nothing. So they'll think that this backdoor is fine. But then, because your backdoor is actually fine for the amount of time that they tested it, and it'll only start doing the evil stuff after a minute or two, or maybe an hour. You can set the minimum number of processors and all that with all of these options. The main things that you need to modify, and you have to modify, is the lhost and the lport. The lhost is the IP of your current computer, the computer that will receive the connection, because like we said, this is going to be a reverse connection from the target computer to your computer. And the lport, this is the port that you will be listening on your own computer to receive these connections. So to get my IP, I'm just going to split the screen and I'm going to do ifconfig. And we can see that my IP is 10.02.15. So to change any of these options, all you have to do is set, followed by the option name, and the option name that we want to change right now is lhost, followed by the option value. And in our case, my IP is 10.02.15. We also want to change the lport. Like I said, this is the port that the connection will be sent to. This is a port that I will be listening on my current computer. So we're going to do set lport, again the exact same format, followed by the value that I want to set this port to, and I'm going to choose 8080. Now I specifically chose 8080, and an even better port to use would be 80, because all web browsers run on port 80. Therefore, I'm going to be listening on port 80 to receive connections from my backdoor, and when the backdoor is executed on the target computer will connect back to my computer on port 80. This looks very similar to the target computer connecting to a normal website, because websites, like I said, web servers run on port 80. Therefore, it's less suspicious. Now, like I said, you can go ahead and modify any of the other options by doing set, followed by the option name, followed by the option value. I'm not going to do that right now, just to show you that you actually don't need to modify too much to still bypass a lot of antivirus programs. But like I said, if you do modify more options, you will bypass more programs. So I'm happy with what I have, and I'm going to use the generate command, as you can see here, to create my payload. So we're just going to do generate. It's asking me for the payload name, and let's call this rev TCP 8080, because it's going to give us a reverse TCP on port 8080. You can call it anything you want. This will do for me. And perfect. Now the payload is generated. As you can see, it's giving us the location where the payload is stored. And it's also giving us a resource file that we can use to automatically listen for incoming connections. Because like I said, this is a reverse backdoor that will connect back to us from the target computer. Therefore, we need to listen for incoming connections. You can do this manually using Metasploit's multi-handler, and I show that in my courses. But right now, like I said, we don't have a lot of time, so we're just gonna copy this code that'll do it for us automatically. And in here, we're just gonna do msf console -- resource to load a resource file, and the resource file is the file that we just copied that will generate it for us automatically. Gonna hit enter, give this some time to load, and perfect, it's already listening for connections. We can do jobs -L to list all of the jobs, and as you can see here, we are listening for connections with Windows Meterpreter Reverse TCP. And our IP is right here with the port that we selected. So everything is set exactly as we wanted. So the next step now is to send the backdoor, which is this one right here. It's stored in this specific location, to the target computer to test it to make sure that it works. Now at this stage, the backdoor is detectable by a lot of antivirus programs. So right now, when you want to test it, you should turn your Windows Defender or any antivirus program off, just to make sure that the backdoor works before you spend more time trying to get it to bypass more antivirus programs. Because when you try to modify the backdoor code, you could actually break it. So a really good idea right now to turn off your antivirus and test this backdoor and make sure it works. I've already done that, and I know this will 100% works. That's why I'm going to go to the next step straight away, which is converting this backdoor to .exe, to an executable. So first I'm going to copy its location, and we're going to do this using a tool called bat2exe converter. I'm going to include its download link in the description. Very simple tool to use. First of all, you have to open your backdoor. So we're going to click on open, and we're going to go to where the backdoor is stored. I'm already in the sources, but you can navigate through this. And the backdoor that we created is this one, refTCP8080.bat. We're going to click on open, and you will see the code used in your backdoor right here. So again, we have a lot of options to modify, and we will do that later on. But for now, let's just go ahead, click on convert, and convert to generate an exe version of this backdoor. So it's asking us, where do I want to store this? And I'm just going to store this in var www.html. I'm only storing it there because that's the default web root where I want my backdoor to be stored, so I can easily send it to the target machine. You can store it anywhere you want, really. And let's just call this test1 because it's our first test. Click on save, and that's it. That's generated for us. So let's go ahead and check how many antivirus programs can detect this backdoor. So we're going to go down, and we're going to go to a website called antiscan.me. I'll include it in the description of this video. You can also try nodistribute.com. These websites sometimes fail when there is a lot of traffic, so you want to be patient with them. And we're just going to click on browse, select the backdoor that we just created, which is in var www.html, and it's test1.exe right here. And we're just going to click on scan. Okay, results are done. First thing you want to check is Windows Defender, and as you can see, it is able to detect this file as a backdoor. And if we look at the number of programs that were able to detect this, you'll be able to see that there are 10 antivirus programs out of 26 that are able to flag this file as a virus. So it's okay, but it's not great. So the goal now is to try and improve this result and reduce this number to as low as possible. So let's go back to our steps and see what's the next step. We've already made sure that vil is up to date, and we used it to generate our backdoor, and the result was a backdoor that got detected by 10 antivirus programs. Second step is you can go ahead and try different payloads. As we've seen, there was 42 payloads in here in vil. 41 payloads, that you can use. So you can experiment with using different types of payloads here and experiment with different options. So like I said, when you modify the options in here, you will make your backdoor more unique, and you'll probably be able to bypass more antivirus programs. But we're not going to do that. We're happy enough with the options and the one we selected so far. So we've already done with step 1 and 2. Step 3 suggests that you can try a different program other than vil to generate your backdoor. So you can try a program called the Fat Rat and Empire. Very valid, good solutions. But again, I don't want to do that. We're happy with using vil. We just want to get that backdoor to bypass antivirus programs. So we're going to move to the 4th step, which suggests that if our backdoor is in bat, we should try to modify its code. And to do this, you actually don't need to be a PowerShell expert. I'm going to pretend that I don't know anything about PowerShell, and you'll see how easy it is to modify this code. So let's go back here, go back to our bat2exe converter, this program right here, and we're just going to look at the code. So like I said, I'm pretending that I know nothing about PowerShell. We're just going to read it the same way you would read any English text. So we have an if statement here that says if the processor architecture is equal to x86, then I want you to execute all of this code. And then we have another statement saying else. So if this statement is not true, I want you to execute the rest of the code in here. Now, this is where information gathering can be very useful. In my case, I know that my target does not have an x86 architecture. They are using a 64-bit processor. Therefore, I don't need any of this code because this code only gets executed if the processor architecture is x86. So I can pretty much remove all of this code right here. Now, because I removed the if statement, I will need to remove the else in here. And I'm gonna remove this opening bracket and remove the end of it because, like I said, we don't have this if statement. So I did all of this without any knowledge in PowerShell because it just makes sense. If you're not sure about it, obviously you can go on Google and just learn the basics of PowerShell, and you'll see that's how if statements work in PowerShell. So what we did so far will differentiate our backdoor from pretty much any PowerShell backdoor generated using Vil framework, which is a huge framework that is used by a lot of people. I don't want to say millions, but I do think millions of people use it. So right now our backdoor is already pretty unique. So I'm not actually going to modify anything anymore. And right now it's a very good idea to go ahead and test your backdoor to make sure that it still works, because as you can see, we modified its code, but I've already tested this and I know that it will run 100%. So what I want to do right now is just convert this again to an executable, and we're going to call this test2. And let's go ahead and test it with our anti-scan. I'm just going to open it in a new tab so we don't lose this result. We're going to go to the new tab, click on the browse, select our file test2, and click on scan file. And perfect. Now, by simply removing that if statement, you can see we managed to bypass 2 more antiviruses. So right now, our backdoor is detected by 8 out of 26 antivirus programs. Let's go down and see if Windows Defender can detect it. And perfect. Right now, we are already bypassing Windows Defender. So right now, you actually have a really good backdoor. But I think we can do better. So let's go back and try to read the code again, pretending that we don't know much about PowerShell, and see if we can modify this code more. So we can see at the start in here, we are trying to call the PowerShell executable. And we are passing to this executable the following arguments. So we're doing -no p, -no ni, -w hidden, -exec bypass, -command, and then we're giving it the rest of the command. Now, I don't know what these arguments mean, but you know who knows? Google. So we're going to go on Google and we're going to search for PowerShell.exe options. First result on Google, this result right here, will give you a full list, all of the options that we have and what they do. So let's go back and see what's the first argument we have in here, which is the -no p. Looking at the arguments in here on the left, you will see that the no p is the same as no profile, and it basically tells PowerShell to load with no profiles. So I'm guessing this is important in case some profiles would prevent our backdoor from running. So I'm not going to remove this argument, but instead of using the short of it, which is no p, we're actually going to use the full name of this argument, which is no profile. So we're going to copy this, go to our code, we're going to remove the no p and replace it with, now the next argument is no ni. So let's go see what that means. No ni means don't present an interactive prompt to the user. Now, I don't think this is very important in our specific backdoor, so I'm just going to remove this. And again, there is a trial and error. If you remove it and you get a behavior that you don't like, then you can simply add it. You don't have to know everything. And I actually do this all the time. Remove things and add things and keep experimenting until I get the results that I want. So we're removing the no ni, and the next option is -w hidden. So let's go see what the -w means. And I think the -w refers to Windows tile, as you can see here. And it basically says that I want this window, when the backdoor is executed, I want its window to be hidden. Now, this is very important. We don't want the user to see the backdoor running or a command prompt, because that would be very suspicious. But we can actually use this tool right here, bat2exe, to configure our backdoor to run silently in the background. So I don't need the -w hidden, so I'm gonna get rid of that. And finally, we have the -exec followed by bypass. So let's see what that means. What the -exec is. It's the execution policy. And you can click on this to get the list of all execution policies. You can see that I've actually already clicked it. The bypass means that it'll bypass any policies that might prevent the backdoor from running. Again, it is something that we want. We're just going to replace the exec with the full name of this argument, which is execution policy. So going back to our backdoor, we're going to do, and then the dash command, we're going to leave that the way it is, followed by the command that will get executed on the target. Now again, because we modified the code right here, a really good idea is to save and test on the target computer. I've already tested this, so I don't need to do it. So we're simply going to go to convert and convert this to an executable. And we're going to call it this time test3. Save it. And let's go and see what we get. So we're going to do this in a new tab again, just so that we don't lose this result. Click on browse, select our backdoor, and let's scan the file. And perfect, we managed to bring that down by 2 more antiviruses. So before we were detected by 8, now we're only detected by 6 antivirus programs. So that's really, really good. But I think we can do even better than this. So let's go back. And what I want to do this time, I should have actually done this already, is just change the order of these arguments. So let's remove the execution policy from here. I'm going to cut it. And I'm just going to paste it before the no profile argument and make sure that you add a space between them. Also, let's see if we can add any more arguments from these, even if they're not really going to do any difference. So read through these arguments and see which one you can add without affecting the behavior of your backdoor. A really good one is this one right here, no logo. So this will hide the copyright banner at the startup. It really won't make any difference, but it'll slightly change the way our executable looks to antivirus programs. So I'm going to do dash no logo, and I'm just going to add it to my code right here. So dash no logo. Doesn't get any simpler than this. Now, when we compile this, let's also play around with the options that this program, bat2exe, allow us to change. So you can actually select an icon by ticking this icon and selecting an icon to make your backdoor less suspicious. You can also embed it with other files. This will make your backdoor look and function like other files, and it'll make it less suspicious to the user. But that'll get into creating a Trojan. That's a completely different topic. What we're trying to do right now is create an undetectable backdoor. And then once we manage to do that, we can move on to converting this to a Trojan that runs like an image or any other file that you want. I always like to divide the big problem into a number of small problems, fix the small problems, and then the big problem will automatically get solved. So try to generate an undetectable backdoor first, and only when you manage to do that, move on to converting this backdoor to a Trojan. So we're going to leave these options. We're going to change the working directory though, and we're going to set it to the temp directory just for a change. And we're going to change the exe format to 64-bit because we know our target runs 64-bit computer. And we're going to make sure we pick the invisible one so that when the backdoor is executed, it will not display any suspicious windows. You can tick the request administrator here. This will prompt the user if they want to run the program under administrator privileges. This might make the backdoor a bit more suspicious, but it will give you admin privileges, which will allow you to do anything the admin can do. So it's really good if you can social engineer your target properly to click yes when they get that prompt. I'm going to leave that, and at the packer, you can tick this to enable UPS compression, which will basically compress the code. It'll make the size of your backdoor smaller. It'll also change its signature, which means that it might allow you to bypass more antivirus programs. I've already tried this and it actually increased the number of programs that detected my backdoor. Therefore, I'm not going to tick it. But like I said, there is a lot of trial and error to this. So at the time of recording this video, this did not help. But maybe when you try to do this yourself, you would actually get better results if you tick it. So like I said, you should always experiment with everything, with changing these options until you get the results that you want. So right now I'm happy with what I have right now. We're going to save this and we're going to convert it to an executable and we're going to call it test4. Hit enter. That's done. Let's go to anti-scan. Open a new window. Select our file, test4, and scan. And perfect. Now let's zoom in. And as you can see, right now our backdoor is only detected by one antivirus out of the 26 that this website have scanned it with. So you can see the full list in here is pretty much bypassing all of the famous ones from AVG to Ivera. Let's scroll down. Kaspersky, Windows Defender, as we know, we already bypassed that. The only one that is able to detect it in our case is ESET node 32. Keep in mind, we are still at 0.4, so modify the backdoor if it's in bad. So we still have two more things to do. We can still modify the backdoor using a hex editor, and we can obviously program our own backdoor, which is the best solution because that opens up so many doors and allows you to do so many things. Basically, there is unlimited possibilities of creating different types of backdoors if you go with option 6. But anyway, we haven't even tried 5, we haven't tried 6, and we haven't tried 3. We haven't tried generating backdoors with other tools. So realistically, all we did is 1, 2, and 4. And as you can see, we managed to bypass all antivirus programs except for one. Now, let's go ahead and test the backdoor and actually make sure that it works. So going back to my Kali machine right now, I am already listening for incoming connections in here at the bottom. And let's go to a Windows computer. And I already downloaded the backdoor here. You can share it in any way you want. And we're just gonna double click it to run it. You will get this message anyway with any exe that has an unknown publisher. You can actually go and buy a certificate and install it. So that's nothing to do with bypassing antivirus programs. We're gonna say run it anyway. The backdoor is gonna run. We see no screens in here, so nothing suspicious. As you can see, we got a connection from our target and we can interact with the session. This is session number 1. So we can just do sessions I1 to interact with it. And we are inside the interpreter right here. So we can get the sysinfo to get the system information. We have our target. We can list the files, get our current working directory, and you can do help to see all of the things that you can do on the target computer. But basically right now we can fully control this computer and do anything the normal user can do. And we are doing this with a backdoor that bypasses all antivirus programs except for node 32. Now, I hope you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel to stay updated with our content, and see you in the next video.